Welcome to VGK Today, a daily podcast providing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Wednesday, May 14th, as the VGK prepare for Game 5 of the second round tonight at T-Mobile Arena. Puck drop for the Knights and Oilers is set for 6:30 Pacific time, with Vegas looking to stave off elimination and push the series to a sixth game back in Edmonton. The Knights know that they will have to be better than they were in their 3-0 loss in Game 4, and they're going to look to use the energy of the home crowd to their advantage as they look to start fast and get the win at the Fortress. We'll step aside, and when we return, we have a special guest on today's show, as Ashali Vise caught up with former NHL goaltender and current color commentator for both the Blackhawks and NHL on TNT, Darren Pang. Well, Golden Knights fans, with the Knights back at home for Game 5, just want to remind you about what you can expect at T-Mobile Arena tonight. Of course, before each home game, Toshiba Plaza will host several activations outside the arena, including face painters, tattoo artists, and food and beverage options, with additional merchandise available as well. The stage outside also will have a DJ, visits from the VGK cast, and they will embark on the March to the Fortress 1 hour before game time, and doors will open to T-Mobile Arena 75 minutes before the game. If you're going to watch the game from home, well, you can tune into the pregame show on Script Sports and Nighttime Plus starting at 6. And on the radio side of things, they get started a little earlier. Darren Millard and Ryan Wallace start with the VGK Insider Show at 4 p.m. on Fox Sports Las Vegas, 98.9 FM, 1340 AM. That leads directly into the VGK pregame show with Ryan starting at 5:30 before Dan Duva and Gary Lawless take you the rest of the way for Game 5 with the play-by-play. Again, outside the arena, lots going on at Toshiba Plaza, so you're more than welcome to get there early for Game 5, and you can check out coverage on Script Sports, Nighttime Plus, and Fox Sports Las Vegas on the radio side for Game 5.
And we are joined by the one, the only, Darren Pang. Well, Panger, I'll first start by just asking how playoffs are treating you so far.
They're going great, Ash, especially having you as a part of our team as well and on TNT. But I think the playoffs are always a little bit different now than maybe in the previous years because of ESPN and TNT, breaking up series. You don't join one series and then stay with them. And so in Edmonton, this is the first time in the playoffs that I did 2 games, had a day off, stayed in the same city, and got a feel for the actual series. So that part of it is a bit of a challenge, but I think that's also the exciting part of it, is to go to a new building, go into the arena, go into a locker room and join up with the guys and try to catch up real quick, and so all in all, yes, the first question, I'd say it's gone great, and I'm really enjoying it once again. I don't know how many of these I've done, but they all take on a life of their own, and I always have a lot of fun.
Well, certainly glad to have had you on back-to-back Golden Knights games, that's for sure. Here in Edmonton, you had a unique vantage point. It wasn't your normal between the benches spot. It was on the side of one of the benches. Hoping you can tell us what that setup was like, how it came about, and what it was like to call a game from there. Yeah,
I give the NHL a lot of credit, Ash, because there are just times where some buildings just aren't set up for 2 guys between the benches, and in Winnipeg there's enough room for 2, so I'm there. Here, Louis DeBrusk for Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. Besides that, Louis is really big, and I wouldn't be able to see anyway. But there's just no room for 2, so we decided to get creative and come up with a different spot. So I am to the right of the Oilers bench, right where the plexiglass gets rounded. I've got a little stool there. I've got my 2 monitors. And on the one end, I have an exceptional view, way better than what I would have between the benches. I see from the D zone clean shots to the goaltender. And also I see the breakout, the line changes. And so that's interesting. Are there challenges? Yeah, a little bit of challenges, because the far left side, I leave that to Brendan Burke, outstanding play-by-play guy, and trust the fact that he's got that, and I don't jump in because I can't see it. So there's times where you just have to take a pause and then wait for something else, and then it's all set. But I still do prefer to be down at ice level, Ash. I've always liked it better there than being up top. So
I think you had a pretty good vantage point of Riley Smith's game winner in Game 3, right? You were on the side where you were able to get a good view of that. Were you confident that went in with 0.4 seconds left, or were you like the rest of us kind of on the edge of your seat waiting to see?
No, I was just more amazed that he held onto the puck for as long as he held onto the puck. I was more amazed that Carlson took the puck from his own zone or from the blue line, and he barreled down right beside me. And I took a quick glance at the clock, and I remember thinking maybe 5. And I'm thinking, there's nothing here. But I gave him credit. I was really like, man, he's really hustling. He's playing to the buzzer, sort of thing, you know, in my mind. And then when it went around, you know, to the slot, and Riley Smith got it, and I'm thinking, shoot it. So I'm probably thinking like everybody else. Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a fan sitting there. I'm like, well, shoot it. But he's not shooting it. He's waiting, and he's going to go wide. And so no, when it actually hit the stick of Draisaitl, I did think like everything else that it must have clipped the crossbar. It must not have gone in the net because the referee right away, Garrett Rank, it was a very, very persuasive no goal. So what am I going to do? He's right there. What am I going to do? Say it's a goal, and then, you know, it's not a goal. So we all kind of waited for a second. So I mean, our producer, Rob Allaire, said to me, and I trust him, and he said, in the net, 0.04 seconds, and so I blurted that out. And so, you know, that's just trust between producer and I said to Rob after the game, I said, I'm sure glad you were right, because I went on a limb with it, and so that part of it was quite clear afterwards that you saw that it went off Draisaitl's sticking in the net. And the funny thing is, everybody's you know, talking about the goaltender Stuart Skinner, who's obviously under a very large microscope here and magnifying glass, as everybody knows, but it wasn't even going in the net. So everybody's like, well, he did this. He was out. He was scrambling. He was challenging. Why wasn't he in the net? I'm like, it wasn't even going in the net. If Draisaitl's stick isn't there, it goes wide, and we head into overtime. So those are just the breaks of the game. But I was really impressed with Riley Smith's goal that he scored before that. I thought that line, I thought Carlson was great. I just thought that Vegas played a real hard game, back-checked hard, and I was really impressed with that.
Worked out well for Bruce Cassidy and the Golden Knights. And speaking of Bruce, you go way back with the head coach of the VGK, hoping you can walk us through the origin of that friendship that I'm guessing started back in the Ottawa 67 days.
It sure did. I mean, he's an Ottawa West guy. I'm an Nepean guy, but because he was younger, we didn't play minor hockey against one another. Even when I was an underage playing Tier 2, I was ahead of him by a couple of years, and then he did the same thing. We followed the same footsteps. When we were partnered up in Ottawa, I got traded to Ottawa from Belleville, and the first communication with Bruce, who was very quiet. He talks a lot more now than he did back then. Okay. Very, very quiet. You could barely get words out of him. But I remember he came back to me. I started the game. They'd never seen me before as their teammate. And I said to him, if you're in trouble, play the puck back to me. And he goes, you can handle the puck? And I go, anytime. I'll be ready for it. So he gets the puck in his own zone. It's in the first period. We're playing in Kingston. And he has it on his stick, and he doesn't play it back to me on the ice. He flips it back to me. So he kind of like a little heel-to-toe saucer pass to me. So I catch it, I put it down, he peels off, I gave it right back to him. He skates by, and he kind of gives me the, nice job, Panger, one of those. And that's kind of, then we, you know, evolved as teammates. But we ended up winning the Memorial Cup our second year in Ottawa. And then we went on, because he was a high pick with the Blackhawks. I was an unrestricted free agent. I was signed as a UFA. So there we are. We're both in Chicago at training camp. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL playing ball hockey. We were all in a very serious ball hockey off-season league. And he tore his ACL, and that was a really sad, really, really sad and tough one, because an ACL injury at that time in like 82 or 83 was this very significant injury. So as it turns out, he had a wonky knee after that. And but we still played together in Chicago. We played together in Saginaw. We played together in Halifax. We played together in Indianapolis and in Chicago. I had my best. Anytime Bruce was on the team, he joined the Hawks, recalled from the minors. We had a January that was really good. I won 7 consecutive games, one shy of the Blackhawk record, held by Tony Esposito. And who's with me? Bruce Cassidy. You know, so it's funny that the way that there was just chemistry. Everybody likes being around Bruce. He should have played more in the NHL. I think the Blackhawks did him a disservice because he was a better player. And every time he played, he always played very, very well. And I was always shocked that he wasn't up there longer. So, but I'm happy that he's where he's at. There was one point where he was in the East Coast Hockey League coaching. I think they were called the Lizard Kings or something like that. I can't remember the team, but we always kept in touch. I was at TSN in Toronto. I remember sending him a text saying, hey, Butchie, you'd be great on TV. You know, maybe you want to think of this kind of thing. And he's like, no, hey, chum, no, I'm good. I'm going to keep going. And then he went to Trenton. And then he went, you know, obviously to Providence. And his story is a great story. But you see the way he treats everybody. just a very personable guy. But it's different when you've known him for a long time, and you can sit down and he just talks hockey with me. And it's not like he doesn't pull any punches, he doesn't pull any secrets, but he trusts the people around him. And that's why I love being around Butchie.
What do you think has made him such a successful coach in the National Hockey League?
I think he's picked up a lot of things from a lot of great coaches that he's played for. Brian Kilrea is a Hall of Fame coach and instrumental in our lives, but I think he speaks a little Brian Kilrea. We can't speak that way now like we maybe could in the 80s, so that would be one. I think Bob Pulford, who was the general manager and coach in Chicago that Bruce lived at his house when he was rehabbing his ACL. I think Pulley was influential, and I can see a little bit of Pulley in him, and then Darryl Sutter, another former teammate of mine and a guy that coached Bruce and I with a Turner Cup winning team in Indianapolis. I think he's got a little bit of that. So he's got a sharp way of saying things. He doesn't go around the edges. Sometimes he gets right to the point and right to you. And for some players, that's like, oh no, that's the way I like the way he coaches. I like the way he says things. And the other thing is, he's a great analyst. Like I've always listened to his pregame. Mm-hmm. When he was in Boston, they do the pregame. They always had it. When in Vegas, anytime he does something and speaks about the game, I listen. Because I'm going to pick something else up. There's going to be a note here that I'm going to get, and I'm going to be able to use that on the air because he just has a great hockey mind, and he's able to say it the right way without being condescending. So I guess that's why I think he's a great coach.
Last one for you, Panger. You said that Bruce was quiet as a youngster. Was Darren Pang ever shy or quiet, or have you always been this bundle of energy that we all know and love?
Yeah, Ash. I think I've always been, full of, can I say something in vinegar? I've always been that kind of guy, and I've always been the guy that teammates kind of go, hey, okay, we just need a break here, but when I played, and Bruce can attest to this, when I played, I was a very serious, anxiety-filled. When I made the NHL, I threw up before every game that I played. There's a different me. So there is a different me, but there's a me every day, and then there's a me when I was playing, and so there are two things, and people probably wouldn't understand that, but there are two sides. But no, I've talked an awful lot my whole life.
Well, we love the everyday Panger that we see. Thank you so much for doing
this.
Thanks,
Ash. I appreciate it.
Well, some great stories there by Darren Pang, and I didn't know his relationship with Bruce went back that far and was that tight. I mean, friends throughout many phases of their lives and professional careers. And now so cool to see them both at the top level of their respective fields. Thanks again to Ashali and Darren for taking some time to chat for today's show. And leading into one of the things that Panger said, he said he makes sure to always listen to Bruce Cassidy, and he does it as much as he can because he feels like he always learns something when Bruce speaks. And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling when listening to the Knights head coach. So, to learn something ahead of Game 5, let's listen into what Bruce had to say to the media yesterday at City National Arena.
Yeah, Bruce, last night several players after the game talked about Edmonton's sense of urgency and your guys maybe not matching it. I guess, how could you get that back? And it's over the course of 3 games, how difficult is it to ramp it up not only once but 3 times?
Well, there's no maybe about it. They definitely had more urgency than us, especially early on. We weren't able to manage the puck, and if we didn't put out a fire when those things happen, so we end up chasing the game again, which is a bad formula. We got away with it game 3, but that was the part to me that I was most disappointed in. I think we end up getting dragged into it a little bit, and you start pushing back, but never materialized after that. We had chances on the power play to get ourselves back in the game. Weren't able to do that. So, what was the second part about?
I guess not only doing it once, but potentially having to do that 3 times.
Well, we did it the last series, right? We won 3 in a row. So we know we're capable in the room. It's a stronger opponent. Obviously, they've been through a round, and we're able to do it 4 times in a row. So against LA. So, but it's not easy this time of year, and I'm not fooling anybody when I wouldn't tell the guys it would be. It's hard to win. But, if you start with 1 at home, a building we've typically played well in, so, it's a small picture right now, right? Take care of business tomorrow, be ready to play, see if you can get a lead by playing the right way, having more urgency than them, more desperation. That word now comes into play, because it's it. If we don't win, we're done. So there needs to be somewhat level of that without taking you outside of your game. And, and then go from there. That's it. It's cliche, but it is one game at a time. We have to win one game 3 times in a row. That's kind of what's in front of us.
Bruce, you've been down this road before, facing elimination. Do you take the same approach, or do you have to tweak it slightly, given what's at stake tomorrow night?
Well, I mean, it's a different animal than last time. We were up in the series, so if you lose the game, you got another chance. There's no more chances for us, so our guys are big boys. They understand that. They've been around. A lot of guys that have been through playoff runs before, so they're aware. You know, the level of execution, first of all, that's required. And, you know, a commitment to being focused and ready to play. Because if you get a lead, it can certainly make the game easier, right? It makes a tough run, Edmonton. They could be thinking, listen, I have no idea what their mindset will be, but if you have the lead, you know, sometimes when you have a series lead, you may say, oh, we got a chance to wrap it up at home. You never know. You got to create some doubt that way. And so that's about getting your game first and in a hurry and staying at it longer.
Bruce, is this a harder team, Edmonton, to get inside on, or is it something that you're doing or not doing?
Well, there are games when we don't create enough offense. That is a bit of our issue, is getting inside. They're doing a good job with that. I thought they blocked a lot of opportunities when we did get there to have a looks at the net. Like I said, I can remember some slot shots. I think it was Pav off a face-off. Now Hurdle gets the rebound. I don't know if they blocked it or he got 2 saves. Howie was in the slot. We were off net with Dorofiev. He rushed a shot late 'cause I think Hyman was coming. So there were some different situations where they did a good job with that. I don't think we executed well enough to put them on their heels to get inside for second and third chances. So that was somewhat on us, but they got to give them credit for, you know, the job they did. Don't remember a lot of odd man rushes where their D were caught out of position. So when they have a 2-0 lead, I think it's an easier sell to your team. Hey, you know, let's play risk-free hockey. Go when the opportunity dictates. Play the half-court O-zone game and get your offense from there. They did a good job with that.
2 real quick on Brandon Saad. Any update on him and potential to come back?
We'll find out more now that we're back, so I don't have an answer for you today whether he'll play tomorrow.
And then the other one was just, you had guys that made it back to the lineup that have been battling and really struggling. Last night, Stone, McNabb, those kind of guys, like, did they come out okay? And how did you think they
Yeah, there's no secret they're a little banged up, but listen, they've been through it. They're out there giving us what they got, so I have no issue with their game. I think there's some players in this series offensively that they need to, you know, sometimes it's a short sample size, but we're getting to game 5. We have guys that haven't put up points, that scored a lot of goals for us this year in points. So it's time. It's time, right? So, you know, that's part of getting our offense going. The guys you've relied on all year to been consistently producing, it's time to produce.
Being down 3-1, you said last night that, you know, you would be involved in getting you're always involved in getting the team ready, but tomorrow in particular, what sort of tenor do you want to set right off from the beginning of tomorrow morning?
Listen, we're going to meet today and go through the game, and, you know, listen, the tenor we have to set is we have to be better than them the first 10 minutes. So it's an urgency, intensity out of the gate, you know, and that, I think that's a no-brainer, to be honest. If they need me to tell me that, we're in trouble. So that's where it's going to start. Where I'm going to talk is about the dirty areas. We got to be better than them. So that will be the tactical part. As we gave up 2 goals right in front of our net, where pucks came from below the goal line to the front. We've got to kill those plays. Be harder on the walls to begin with, or be better supporting when the puck does come to the front of the net. So that's the start. And I think we'll discuss our power play. I think they gave us some opportunities in certain areas that we didn't take advantage of. So if we do get something early to give us juice, that's another area we can be better on. But it's the 5-on-5 game that has to be better for us. And it's, you know, just being harder than them in the slot. Your question earlier, getting there and defending it. To me, that's where it starts and ends. And, you know, the rest of our game should be fine. I mean, we know how to play the game. Been around a while. Our structure typically, when we have a lead, we tend to play well. So let's get the lead, and how are we going to do that? Well, that's it. Let's take care of the front of each net.
Your team's won a game in the series and was real close in game 2 as well. What will be the sort of the points of belief that you will work with your group?
Well, it was 3-3. I think it was a tie game with 3 minutes to go in game 1 too. So there's 3 games in a row there that could have went either way. They could say they could have had them all, right? That's playoff hockey. Minnesota, we tipped it our direction. They were all close, so expect another close one tomorrow. And again, how did we get over the hump in those other, in game 2 we felt good enough to win? Well, we had a great start, so we got going, and was that the one? I can't remember now. Great, geez, I'm losing my memory now. We were up 2-0, but I don't know that our game was fantastic. But at the end of the day, the start is going to be important. And then I thought game 3 we're just a better team. We're on top of them. We're faster. Races and battles. That's what it goes down to. I don't know. Like you get down 3-1, Gary. There's no magic potion to sprinkle around the room and say we're too far along as a team. There's a lot of guys in that room that won. They understand what's at stake. We got to play better, right? We just got to play harder. We got to play better for longer. And that's what's in front of us. And that's a little bit of will right now, right? Do they want to do it to play on or not, right? We're going to find out tomorrow fairly quickly.
Pretty clear there for Bruce that for Game 5, it is simply about the Knights playing better for extended periods. You can look at all the different variables and all the matchups and everything on the outside, but at the end of the day, there needs to be more urgency and better execution for Vegas. So we'll see if they can live up to those standards to keep their season alive tonight. That'll just about wrap things up on today's show. Thank you, as always, for tuning into VGK Today, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, as we'll be back every day throughout the Knights' 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. Tune in tomorrow as Brian McCormick is back with us, and he recaps Game 5. Justin Russo signing off for VGK Today.